The V8 is an almost forgotten luxury car from Audi's late 1980s lineup, like the Audi 200 before it. It's easy to get it confused with the A8 that came after it, a car that drove Audi to new levels of opulence that allowed it to compete with the likes of BMW's 7 Series and Mercedes S-Class. But why was the V8 only in production for 5 short years? And for such a short-lived car, was it a success? This is the Audi V8 story. The Audi V8 was the culmination of a long and winding history to catch up with their rivals Mercedes-Benz and to a lesser extent BMW, so it helps to set the scene with a little Audi history. Volkswagen had started piecing together what would become the luxury Audi brand in 1964 with a controlling stake in Auto Union. This was a historic company going back all the way to 1885. It switched to war production in the 1940s, but after the war found its factory on the wrong side of the Iron Curtain. Despite the Soviets making Auto Union cars in a rebuilt factory in East Germany, a new Auto Union was established in West Germany. It started building spare parts for pre-war Auto Union cars, but developed into making new cars for the blossoming German economy. It was acquired by Mercedes-Benz, who poured money into the company. The vehicles were improved, and the old-fashioned two-stroke engines Auto Union had been using were replaced with a modern Mercedes four-cylinder engine. Mercedes' arrangement with the US distributors allowed Auto Union to establish a presence across the Atlantic. But Mercedes weren't happy with their purchase. In 1964, they sold a controlling interest to rival Volkswagen, who saw potential in the new cars Auto Union was creating and their new four-cylinder Mercedes engine. VW renamed the brand to Audi, and the first fruits of Mercedes' investment appeared in 1965 as a car initially just called the Audi, but later renamed to the Audi 72. Audi were moving upmarket, using a few tricks from old parent Mercedes-Benz. But with new mass-market parent Volkswagen calling the shots, could they design new luxury cars themselves? Audi's technical director Ludwig Klaus, formerly of Mercedes-Benz, had been told by his bosses at VW to merely supervise the current Audi models. But he felt Audi needed a new flagship car, something that could take on his old company. He started work in secret. The new car would have a lighter body and better aerodynamics to take maximum advantage of their new four-cylinder engine. Work on the new car was going well, but at some point he was going to have to tell his bosses what he'd been working on. After getting an agreement from VW that Audi could make body modifications, they invited Volkswagen's management to Audi's headquarters at Ingolstadt. Ludwig told his wife the day of the reveal that he might be back at lunchtime, and if he did, that meant he'd been fired. When he arrived at work, the VW bosses had already arrived. Klaus didn't even bother to take his coat off, he just unveiled the car, waiting for their verdict. After what seemed like an age, VW gave their blessing and the Audi 100 was born, that would be sold as the 5000 in North America. Audi had hoped they'd sell 300,000 of their new large car. In the end, they produced 800,000 first-generation Audi 100s, replacing it with the second generation in 1976. By this time, Audi's muscle and production capacity had been bolstered by the acquisition of NSU, but the competition hadn't been standing still. Mercedes had formalised their special class of cars into the S-Class in 1972 with high-powered V6 and V8 engines. BMW would launch their luxury competitor, the 7 Series, in 1977. Audi was clearly still the young upstart that needed to learn a thing or two from its German rivals, but parent VW was expecting big things of its new luxury brand. The higher quality second generation Audi 100 included not a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder engine, but a 5-cylinder engine that took Audi quite a while to get right. They took a further step in luxury in 1979 with the Audi 200, also known as the 500, but still known as the 5000 in North America. They'd intended to use a Wankel rotary engine, but like many manufacturers, parent Volkswagen just couldn't get it to work reliably. So the 200 used the 100's 5-cylinder engine, and turbocharging got the power output to 167 horsepower. It was available with or without a turbo, and it took Audi into a whole new category. The 200 included cruise control, electric windows front and back, heated front seats, and rear passengers even got their own separate cushions. The turbo kicked in around 3000 RPM with a gusto, making this a potent beast. But for all the luxury features, the Audi still trailed the competition quite a bit on performance. That innovative 5-cylinder engine just wasn't a 6-cylinder or a V8. Performance and top trumps numbers are only part of the story, but the overall package didn't have what it took to beat the established brands. Audi would further their ambitions as a luxury maker in 1982, not with more bling, but with engineering know-how with the new Audi 100. The car proved it was possible to make a car with great aerodynamics without having to compromise on inside space or styling. Previous luxury Audis had a tendency to rust, not great for a luxury car, so the new generation got a fully galvanised chassis that allowed Audi to offer a 10-year rust warranty. The 200 got the 100's new shape, albeit with some upmarket body details. For the first time, the 200 also came as an Avant hatchback, but it was the Quattro 4-wheel drive system that gave it a leg up against the competition. The engine also got a boost, but it still fell well short of BMW or Mercedes. Ferdinand Piëch, grandson of Ferdinand Porsche, was a rising talent in Audi, having led the work to design the 5-cylinder engine. But in Audi's mind, it was that 5-cylinder engine that was holding back Audi's aspirations to move upmarket. Piëch began work in 1984 designing Audi's first V8 engine, and the team quickly honed in on a 3.6-litre 32-valve design that looked suspiciously like two 1.8-litre 16-valve engines from the upcoming Volkswagen Golf GTI smashed together. But Audi's new V8 would save weight by using an aluminium block. Inside, Audi wanted the new car that was slated to be called the Audi 300 to be the height of luxury. Like the 100 and 200, the 300 would get walnut inlays in the dashboard, heated, electrically operated seats, a 6-function trip computer, premium Bose audio system with 8 speakers, and air conditioning with climate control. But it would also feature rear heated seats and a car phone in the centre console. Leather seats came courtesy of British company Connolly, who also made seats for Rolls-Royce. And to make the 300 a safe vehicle, it featured Audi's Procon 10 safety restraint system. Rather than focusing on airbags for passenger safety, Audi's safety system used cables to tension the seatbelts and pull the steering wheel away from the driver in the event of a frontal impact. But Audi would hedge their bets a little by offering a driver's airbag as standard as well. ABS and a car that would naturally understeer rounded out the safety features. Audi also pitched its Quattro 4-wheel drive system as a safety feature, automatically delivering the most power to the wheel with the most grip. Up until now, the Quattro system couldn't be married to an automatic gearbox, but by using 2 self-locking differentials, customers could have the security of all-wheel drive with the convenience of an automatic gearbox. The automatic could also be adjusted to give higher performance or more fuel economy, and the new car, now simply named the V8, could be switched between sport, economy and manual modes. Audi would set up a new delivery centre where customers could take delivery of their new luxury Audi and get a personal tour of the factory. This also helped the factory get direct feedback from customers and their expectations for a luxury car. The V8 went on sale in 1988 and was launched by Ferdinand Piëch, who was now Audi's boss. The chassis was identical to the 100 and 200, albeit with a 15mm longer wheelbase. In fact, Audi had abandoned development of a V10 version because it simply couldn't fit it into the engine bay. 90% of the body parts were new, although from the outside it was hard to tell. The body looked almost identical to the new 200, released around the same time. There were some differences. The front grille and bumper were modified, and the V8 got larger wheel arches due to a wider track of the wheels. But from the rear, other than the rear light cluster with clever red indicators that glowed orange, the badge seemed to be the only difference, or rather the lack of a badge. Inside it was more of the same, very luxurious, but the spitting image of the Audi 200. Piëch launched the car with typical German understatement. The V8 itself was the epitome of understatement, a car that looked like Audi had simply fitted a couple of Golf engines to a warmed over Audi 200 that didn't look much different from an Audi 100 launched 6 years earlier. The more people looked at the V8, the less special it became. Many of these new features were available on the updated 200 or even the basic 100, making the V8 hardly the exclusive luxury model it was portraying itself to be. It wasn't particularly cheap either. It was a good bit more than the Mercedes 500 SE, about the same price as the Jaguar XJ6, but less than the BMW 735i. But none of them had anything to compete with Audi's Quattro system. Despite the high price, Audi lacked the prestige of BMW, Mercedes and even Jaguar, and to make matters worse, the competition had moved on. Audi's new beast could claim a 0 to 60 time under 8 seconds from an almost 250 horsepower engine, but Mercedes V8 and BMW's new top-of-the-line V12 could go faster. All this didn't help Audi's goal in conquering North America. A strong Deutschmark meant cars cost more there, slowing down sales as Audi was hoping to make further inroads. But US sales had been squashed 2 years earlier after reports of unintended acceleration surfaced on the Audi 5000. Road traffic authorities, consumer organisations and Audi themselves did extensive tests, all proving these reports to be baseless. But bad news travels faster than good news, and in the public's mind, Audis were dangerous. In 1985, they'd sold 74,000 cars in the USA. By 1987, it was just 41,000. To make matters worse, a favourable yen meant Japanese cars were a bargain. Honda would do well selling its version of the Rover 800, the luxury Acura Legend, and Toyota's new luxury car, the Lexus, would launch for much less than the Audi V8 in 1990. The Audi 200's 5-cylinder engine was boosted, and the following year the 200 Quattro 20-valve turbocharged model appeared, producing almost as much power as the V8 and getting to 60 in just 6.6 seconds. Maybe to shake the unintended acceleration demon from their back, Audi took the 200 racing in the 1988 American Trans Am Series, winning at their first attempt. The V8 would go racing in 1990 in the German DTW Touring Car Championships, becoming the first manufacturer to win back-to-back championships before being roundly beaten by Mercedes in 1992. But domination on the racetrack didn't translate into sales. Audi would launch the V8 long wheelbase version in 1989. This was Audi's attempt at a pure luxury limousine with opulent features for the 2 rear seat passengers. The wheelbase was extended 32 centimeters or just over a foot to give ample legroom, and each seat was electronically adjustable. Late 80s tech features such as a fax machine and a PC were connected to the built-in car phone and an answering machine for an equally fancy price. But it was clear this vehicle was an afterthought. The rear doors looked oddly short because they were the regular doors from a V8. All these limousine features pushed the price 50% higher than the standard V8, and understandably not many were sold, just 271 to be exact. The V8 sales can't have been helped with the new Audi 100 appearing in 1990, which instantly made the supposedly superior V8 and 200 look dated. Audi 200 production ended the following year, but the V8 would be improved with a larger 4.2-litre engine, allowing it to finally hold a torch to BMW and Mercedes' top-of-the-line models. Not many customers chose the manual gearbox, but it was upgraded from a 4-speed to a 5-speed and eventually a 6-speed in 1993. But this did little to stimulate sales of a car with an outdated look, especially now the Mercedes S-Class had been updated. V8 production ended in 1994 after selling less than 22,000 cars, a far cry from the anticipated 14,000 cars Audi had hoped to sell every year. The V8's replacement, the A8 and the higher performance S8, would gain market share not just from its German competitors but American, British and Japanese rivals. BMW is known for its sporty cars, but Audi would match BMW's technical sporting prowess both on and off the racetrack, as well as their luxury. As for Ferdinand Piëch, his star would continue to rise. He was made head of parent Volkswagen in 1993, and he would spearhead another luxury car that failed to meet its sales targets, the Volkswagen Phaeton, with a wilder W12 engine. The Audi V8's engine would set a pattern for Audi's successful large cars in the future, the marrying of two existing reliable engines into a V or a W pattern, and using aluminium for the engine block and cylinder heads. Its customer delivery centre helped them learn what customers wanted from luxury cars, lessons it would continue to learn from Volkswagen's acquisitions of Bentley and Bugatti. It would be easy for Audi to shy away from producing more luxury models after the tepid reaction to the V8, but Audi doubled down on development to produce the A8 and S8. This paid dividends not just in adding another model to their range, but in producing a high-end luxury model that trialled new features that would trickle down to mass-market models, and in advancing the brand image that helped sell entry-level models. The V8 was another step on the road from Audi's two-stroke auto union days to the producer of cutting-edge luxury cars. Instead of bloopers, here's a few bonus facts. Audi's spare parts aren't exactly cheap, and the V8 was no exception. A new engine could cost as much as a new Volkswagen Golf, with the automatic transmission not much behind it on price. One and only one Avant version of the V8 was ever made. It was donated to Ferdinand Piëch's wife. The C3 platform used by the 1980s Audi 100 and 200 was also used in China for the 1995 FAW Hongqi CA7200 limousine. Presumably that was Audi getting a second life out of its tooling. Its sister car, the CA7460, was a Lincoln town car, making for a very strange pairing.